Okay, let's review working with layers project, and we begin by opening the Photoshop Chapter 2 working with layers project file PS Chapter 2 project, and we want to file save as, so we change the name immediately. We're going to change the name to PS Chapter 2 project and hit save. Next, we're going to add a copy of the beach photo to our project by going and opening up the beach photo, and then we're going to drag this photo in to our PS Chapter 2 project, making it a layer. As you can see, there it is. It's called Layer 1. Now we're going to rename Layer 1 Beach so that we know that that's what that is. So we double click on the name and type beach and hit enter. And we've done that. Now we've basically taken care of steps 1 through 7. We're going to close the beach file because we've moved that file made it a layer in our active file PS Chapter 2 project. Okay, we're on step 8. So we're going to select the beach layer, make it the active layer. We're going to add a white border around the beach layer to create the impression it's an old photograph. So first we have to select the beach layer. So to do that, we're going to double click on our thumbnail to open the layer style dialog box, and we're going to go to stroke and put a check and then highlight it, because we want to do some specifics here. We want to make it 5 pixels, and we want to make the position inside, which it is. The blend mode normal. The opacity is 100%. We want the color to be white, so I need to double click and choose white and click OK. And I believe that takes care of all of those in step 9, and click OK. And we should have, there we go, a stroke around that beach photo. Now, I'm just going to click on my arrow to close up. I can see that there are effects there by looking at the FX here. And if I want to, I can drop that layer down to show exactly what effects are there. Don't forget, you could also use your filter here to determine what that is. Okay, step number 10. Arrange the layers in the layers panel so the beach image appears on top of the pineapple and background layers, but below the postage, flower, and word Hawaii. Okay, so I want it to appear here between flower and pineapple, so I'm just going to grab it, drag it, and drop it, and there we go. So it is above the pineapple and background layers. It's on top of them, but it's below the flower and word Hawaii and the postage. Okay, next, that's step number 10. So I've moved my beach layer. Step number 11, I'm going to select the postage layer. Okay, I've selected it. And I'm going to change the opacity of the layer to 25%. Well, first I have to turn it on because right now you can't even see it. So there it is. I've clicked my eyeball and I'm going to change this to 25%. There we go. That's done. Next, I'm going to hide the Hawaii flower and beach layers. Okay, Hawaii flower is already hidden. Beach needs to be hidden. There it goes. Next, I'm going to duplicate the pineapple layer. So I'm just going to right click and duplicate layer. Click, and I'm going to leave it at pineapple copy. And now I want to make that the active layer, which it is. And I'm going to apply the overlay blending mode to this layer. So I'm going to drop my blending mode down and choose overlay. There we go. Now I want to make my postage layer active, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to choose multiply in my blending modes menu. And there we go for it. That's done. Step number 15. Step number 16, I'm going to make my beach layer visible by clicking the eyeball. And I'm going to make it active as well. And I'm going to resize and rotate the image using the following specs. I want to scale the size of the beach image down 50%. So I'm going to click Edit and Transform Scale. I'm going to drag it down a little bit so I can see it. So I need to scale this down 50%. So my width and my height up here are at 100%. So I just want to take it down to 50%. I could even just type that in up here. But I'm just going to hold my shift and control and drag it down until it says 50%. And there it goes. And hit enter to accept that. Next, I'm going to rotate it clockwise 15 degrees. So, edit, transform, rotate. And I'm going to go clockwise 15 degrees. Now, notice I'm going to pay attention here, and again, I could just type it in, and I'll do that. 15, and hit enter to accept. Next, I want to click the Commit Transform button in the options bar, but I've already done that by hitting enter to accept it. So same thing there. Step number 17, make the flower layer visible. Well, click the eyeball. Now, I'm going to use the Move tool, which I've already have selected over here. And I'm going to drag the beach photo so its upper right corner is tucked neatly beneath the flower. So my upper right hand corner is here, and there's my upper right corner. So I'm going to move it up, and there it looks tucked neatly beneath that flower. Okay, next I'm going to create an empty layer above the background layer. So I need to go down and select my background layer. That way when I create an empty layer, it's going to locate it just above there. So I need to create an empty layer. That's simple. I want it above the background layer, so I select my black background layer, and I just click Create New Layer. And now my layer 1 is there, and it is empty. Now, I want to make the following additions, changes to the empty layer. I need to rename it Clouds, so I'm going to double click the name and type Clouds and hit enter. And I want to change the foreground color over here to a sky blue. So I'm just going to double click that. And I'm going to use RGB settings of, let's select that first. And I'm going to change the RGB to 48 and 138 and 174. And click OK. Alright, so I've changed that. I'm going to leave, I want the background color to be white. So I can double click it and just drag up. There we go. Click OK. Now, with the clouds layer still active, I'm going to use the filter drop down menu to create realistic looking clouds. Using the filter drop down layer, I want to create realistic looking clouds, so I'm going to make sure that that layer is still active. I'm going to go to filter, and I believe it's under render clouds. There we go, and there it is in the background. You see that. Okay, next I'm going to make the pineapple copy layer active and add a new layer by dragging the Flower 2 Photoshop file from my folder into the active window. So if I go down here and I drag my Flower 2 right on in here. Okay, so finally it did it. There it is. and I'm going to I can hit enter or click the commit transform button here to accept that. And there's my Flower 2 layer. Okay, I want to position the layer in the Flower 2 layer in the lower left corner of the postcard. So I want that to be lower left. There it is. So that about half of the top flower is visible. Okay, so I want only about half of that, so I'm going to select it and just move it down. Alright, there we go. And that brings me to step 22. Next, I'm going to add a text layer and edit the text and apply a special effect with the following specs. I'm going to make the Hawaii layer visible. Okay, there it is. I'm going to deselect all the layers in the layers panel. Deselect layers under select. And next I'm going to select the horizontal type tool. So go to my toolbox, click and hold, and select my horizontal type tool. And I'm going to open the character panel and make the following specs. So I'm going to go to Window, Character, and the following specs are, I want regular font at 36 points, which it is. I'm going to set my tracking, which is right here, to 250, and there we go. Alright, got my tracking on 250. I'm going to click my color swatch and select a shade of grassy green in the color picker. Double click. I'm going to go with that. It's good enough. And click OK. Next, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to choose the birch. There we go. Birch Standard Regular. Okay. I've got 36 points and 250 in the tracking, a grassy green, the faux bold button, which is this, I believe, and all caps button is, I think, oh no, this is all caps, I believe, all caps right there, and crisp from the anti-aliasing. Oh, okay, here we go. Crisp from the anti-aliasing menu. Okay, now I'm going to add the text Island Paradise just below the word Hawaii. So I'm going to come over here on my, and just click once and type Island Paradise, and I'm going to select my move tool because I need to move my text so that it's centered. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and close my character. That takes care of step 22. I'm on 23. I'm supposed to apply a gradient to the Hawaii layer. So I'm going to select my Hawaii layer, and I'm going to control click the thumbnail. In the Hawaii layer, and then I'm going to select my gradient tool over here and change the foreground color swatch to a bright shade of orange, and my background is going to stay white, so let me just double click that and find me a nice bright orange color and click OK. I want to make sure that I'm on linear gradient, and that's the first one here in the control bar, in the options bar, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to click the arrow next to the gradient editor. I'm going to click this arrow to open the gradient picker, and I'm going to select the foreground to background swatch, which is the first one, and then I can close it by either clicking the button again, whatever that works. You can click outside as well. So I'm going to drag this tool from the bottom to the top of the letters. See how Hawaii is selected here. So all I've got to do is go from the bottom to the top, and to drag straight up you hold shift. So I'm going to hold shift and click, hold, and drag, and there we go. Next I'm going to deselect Hawaii type. So select, deselect, there you go. And that takes us to step 24. Okay, now I want to apply a drop shadow layer style to the Island Paradise layer, so I'm going to select it. Since it's text, it won't let me double click on the text without selecting the text. So if I double click on to the side of the name, it will allow me to open up the layer style box, and I want to, what was it I was going to do? A drop shadow. So find drop shadow and check it and select it. And now I'm going to select the global light. Oh my goodness, use global light. I want a blend mode to be multiply. It's already on multiply. I want the opacity to be 75%, so I'm just going to hit that, type that. And my angle is going to be 78 degrees. It already is. My distance is going to be 5 pixels. And my spread is going to be 30%. And I can either drag the sliders or I can type it in. It's just, since I know what I want, I'm going to just type it in. And my size is going to be 10 pixels. And it does not indicate a color. So I'm going to leave it on black and see what happens here. Click OK. There we go. And now apply the drop shadow layer style you created and apply to the Island Paradise layer to the Hawaii layer. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Select Hawaii, double click out to the side to open the layer style, click drop shadow, and I'm going to do the same things, and all of those things are actually already changed, so I'm just going to leave it. And let's see, click OK, and now that has a drop shadow as well. Now I'm going to apply a stroke layer style with the following specs to the Hawaii layer. So I want to double click again and check the stroke and get there, and I want 4 pixels size. I want a position on the outside. I want a normal blend and opacity of 100, and my color is going to be green. So let me double click that and find me a nice lovely green. Ooh, that's a little pukey. Drop that down and click OK, and click OK again, and there we go. Next I want to select and make the flower layer active, and let me close some of these effects so I can see things better. Okay, here's my flower layer, and I'm going to apply a drop shadow layer style here, but since it's not a text, I can double click and open that up. So again, I want a drop shadow on that flower. And the specs, I want it to be a 60% opacity, 13 pixels distance, and a spread of 9%. And I'm going to make sure the global light's checked and the blend mode is multiply. And I might as well go ahead with item 28, which is applying a satin sheen as well. So I'm going to click on satin and select that so I can make some changes, because I want to select invert. My color, invert's checked. I want my color to be fuchsia, which fuchsia is kind of a hot pink. That looks pretty fuchsia to me. Let me brighten it some. There, that looks a little better. Maybe even make it a little, I want my opacity to be 80%, oh I'm sorry, 20%, and my distance to be 22 pixels. And now I can click OK, all those layer styles have now been applied to the flower. You can see that outline and gave it a satin sheen. Okay, so we're coming up on the last of our project here. I want to add a hue saturation adjustment layer to the flower 2 layer only. So let's find our flower 2 layer and make it active. Okay, I want to click adjustment layers, adjustments, and hue saturation, click that. And in the properties, I want to make the hue 43. I want to make the saturation 19. I want to make the lightness 0, which it already is. Click OK, or there, I'm done. And now, let me go back to my layers. Okay, I just want to make sure, okay, make sure, I wanted to make sure that with this layer, I need to make a clipping mask with the flower 2. So I'm going to hold my Alt key down and just click so that that actually applied to my flower 2. I'm going to Control Z so you can see that, and it looks like it's actually affecting the clouds. So what I want to do is drag my flower 2 up above that hue saturation adjustment layer I made, and now I'm going to create a clipping mask between the two of those. Frankly, I don't see a lot of change, but maybe it's just my computer screen. Okay, but we did it nonetheless, and it only applies to that flower 2 layer. Okay, next, reposition the postage layer within. We want to reposition the postage layer so it's located in the middle right of the image. And there we go. Alright, the last thing is we're supposed to add a border around, and then we're going to use image, duplicate image, and then we're going to flatten the project with that one so that and then we'd save it again. Alright, so we'll go over those last 3 together, and that takes care of this project.